What's up, guys? We are back with a full slate of MLB action here on Monday, July 22nd. Absolutely wild Sunday out there, guys. We tried to play some of those tricky Sunday trends, but things didn't exactly go our way. We had the Reds plus 102, a 3-run home run with 2 outs there in the 8th inning, ended up sinking things for us there. In that game, we lost 5-2. We did hit the over there in the Detroit-Toronto game. There were only 9 runs on 17 hits, so we'll definitely take that one. Seems like we deserved the win on that pick for sure. We also had the over in the Mets-Miami Marlins game. There were 17 hits and 3 errors in that game, and it eventually ended 4-2. So seems pretty unlucky there that one doesn't come through. We had the Cubs minus 122. They ended up winning that game 2-1 in the 10th inning. Awfully nice to get an extra inning win there. We have not ran well in extra inning games this season, so we'll definitely take that one. Things didn't end well, though, for us, guys. We had the Oakland A's minus 135. Their pitching staff absolutely imploded, giving up 15 hits to lose that game 8-5. So, yeah, that was a tough one. Oakland obviously had to come back to earth at some point. We had Boston plus 100 there on Sunday Night Baseball. We saw both starters look bad to start the game off, but the Dodgers offense came through and ended up getting them the 9-6 win. That we did see the Red Sox make things interesting there in the 9th inning. So a 2-4 day overall, obviously not what we're looking for. Let's see if we can get back on track here heading into a new week. Before we get into the games, guys, do me a big favor and hit that like button. It's a great way to show some support for the channel and all the work we put in here every single day. If you're new, go ahead and subscribe. It's 100% free and can keep you from missing out on these picks. Our videos are sponsored by StumpTheSpread.com. Click the link in the description to go over there and join our free email list and check out our top confidence plays on all the major sports. Comment below with all the bets you're looking at today and we will give you our best advice on all of them. We respond to absolutely every single comment, so let us know anything you want to say about my picks, these videos, or anything you see here. As always, our final picks will be in the pinned comment down below. Now let's get into our first game of the day. We've got a day game between the Tampa Bay Rays and the New York Yankees. The Rays come into this game winners of their last 2 in a row. They're winning this series 2-1 right now, so things are looking pretty solid. We see the Rays are 50-49 in the year, handing the ball in this game to Zach Littell, who's 3-6 this season with a 4.26 ERA. He's coming off of a pretty good outing there against Cleveland back on the 13th. This is going to be his first action since the All-Star break, but he went 6 innings, 6 hits, only a single earned run in that start. It was a good bounce back after getting shelled by the Texas Rangers, so he'll definitely take that. Not somebody that's had necessarily a lights out kind of season at all so far this year, but we'll see what we get from him in this one. The last time he faced the Yankees, he wasn't terrible, guys. It was back on the 11th of May. He went 5 2/3 innings, gave up 4 hits and 2 earned runs. In a game we saw the Rays win 7-2. So I would say that definitely qualifies as some positive history against his opponent. One major issue for this team pretty much all season long has been their bullpen, guys. Their bullpen is trending maybe in a positive direction, we'll say, but a 4.35 bullpen ERA is not great. Not exactly something to write home about. So definitely going to have to keep an eye on that. Definitely going to have to keep an eye on this offense that's looking good right now, guys. They've scored 6, 9, 1, and 2 runs respectively over their last few games. We're seeing some guys turn around right now. I mean, Arozarena is looking good. He's red hot right now. He's hitting the ball great. Probably his best hitting stretch of the season, I would say, by far. So all that being said, they're still 27th in the majors in runs scored and 25th in the majors in slugging percentage. So while they might be turning things around, they've still got work to do here against the Yankees, who are currently in second place, 8 games ahead of the Rays there in the AL East. The Yankees come into this game obviously losers of 2 in a row. They're handing the ball to Carlos Rodon, hoping he can get things back on track after, man, just a string of pretty tough outings. He's 9-7 on the year with a 4.63 ERA. His last time out, he did look decent against the Baltimore Orioles. It was in Baltimore. 4 innings, 4 hits, and 2 earned runs, and 1 home run. Honestly, guys, that's great considering how bad he's looked over his last several starts. Things have gotten very, very dark for a guy who was looking amazing in the early portion of the season. So we'll see what he can do in this one. We'll also see what we get out of that Yankees bullpen that's not exactly trending in a positive direction. They are down to 6th in the majors with a 3.51 bullpen ERA. Not exactly where they were hoping to be, not where they've been at earlier this season. And the bats, I mean, this team is supposed to be getting healthy. We're expecting to see Stanton back pretty soon at some point this week, maybe Tuesday, maybe Thursday. It is yet to be seen, but no news is indicating that he'll be back for this Monday game. So seems very unlikely that we'll see him. So we're not going to see the full strength Yankees offense, and they've scored 4, 1, 6, and 5 runs respectively over their last few games. Even without a couple of their biggest hitters in there, they're still putting up decent runs. So I'm not terrified for this offense, but it's not like they're taking on a guy that's been, having a lot of trouble against them this season. And looking at the numbers for this game, we see the Rays at plus 138, the Yankees at minus 155. We got an over over-under of 8.5 in this game. Tampa Bay is 23-22 on the road. The Yankees are 26-21 at home. In terms of a side in this game, guys, I'm leaning pretty significantly towards the Rays at plus 138. That's a significant number. I do think there's a very reasonable chance that they win this game yet again. They're having a good time in this series. They're going to want to finish things off here strong with a win to win this series 4-3 and avoid that split. So yeah, go ahead and give me the Rays on the side in this game. In terms of the over-under, the Rays are a 500 over-under team on the road. We see the Yankees are 25-21-1 to the over at home. Over 8.5 seems a little bit strong. I do think the Yankees are going to keep Rodon on a pretty short leash. So even if he's having one of his terrible outings, really how many runs are they going to let him score? That being said, the last 2 games of the series each totaled 10 runs. So if you wanted to take over 8.5, that would make some sense to me. Moving right along here, guys, we've got the Detroit Tigers going on the road to take on the Cleveland Guardians. The Tigers come into this game fresh off of a loss to end their series there against Toronto with a 5-4 loss, but won 2 out of 3 in that series, and at 49-51 in the year, they have to feel like they are very much alive. They're hitting the ball in this game to Tariq Skubal, who's 10-3 this season with a 2.41 ERA. The dude has been crazy good. He was lights out there in the All-Star game. His last start heading into the All-Star break was a good one against the Dodgers, and just in general, not a lot of negative things to say about Skubal, guys. He's been having one heck of a season, just looking dominant out there. Very good. Great things to see from this 27-year-old. He is killing it out there. The Tigers bullpen, generally speaking, hasn't been up to the caliber of a lot of their starting pitching. A 4.08 bullpen ERA, while not a disaster, is not a bullpen that we're looking at with a ton of optimism. And their bats have to pick up some of the slack for that bullpen, and they've been looking decent lately. I mean, 4, 7, 5, 4, and 11 runs respectively over their last few games. That's all good. We've seen Riley Green hit the ball well. This team's up to 16th in the majors in runs scored. They're still clearly in the bottom third in both batting average and on base percentage, but their slugging percentage is climbing a bit, so we'll give them a little bit of credit. Still, guys, not really an offense that I'm super duper high on. They're going up against the Cleveland Guardians in this game, who come into this one fresh off of losing 2 out of 3 there against the Padres. That's not great. Cleveland's 59-39 on the year, so they're on top of the AL Central there with a 5-game cushion over the Twins and the Royals. But yeah, handing the ball to Carlos Carrasco in this game might not feel amazing. He's 3-7 this season with a 5.02 ERA. He is coming off of a very good start at Tampa Bay there. He headed into the All-Star break definitely on a positive. Unfortunately for him in that game, we saw the Guardians lose 2-0. They're 3-2 over his last 5 starts, and he's had some pretty decent ones in there. He hasn't given up more than 3 earned runs in any of them. So very positive stuff that we're seeing from Carrasco right now. He had his struggles in the early season, no doubt about it. He hasn't faced the Tigers yet this year, so there's nothing to glean from that, but we can feel very good about this bullpen whenever Carrasco comes out of the game. A 2.56 bullpen ERA is tops in the majors. No big shock there. That is a minuscule number. Absolutely great things coming out of this bullpen. What can we expect to see from this offense, though, going up against a great pitcher? The Guardians, over their last few games, have scored 1, 0, 7, and 0 runs, respectively. That is pretty tough stuff, guys. We've seen Kwan and Ramirez. They're not able to carry the load for this team right now up at the plate, and that is a big problem. Kwan hasn't exactly looked the same since coming back off the IL, and Ramirez can only do so much out there, and he's not exactly swinging the hottest bats. I mean, he's coming off of an 0-for-3 day with a strikeout, so that's not great. So we have some concerns about this Cleveland offense. Look at the numbers for this game. We see the Tigers at -102. We see Cleveland at -108. We've got an over-under of 7.5 in this game. The Tigers are 25-27 on the road. Cleveland is second best in the majors with a 31-13 mark at home. So they are a fantastic home team. Absolutely no doubt about that. We shockingly at least, see both of these teams showing trends towards the over. Detroit's a pretty big over team on the road, and Cleveland is a pretty big over team at home. So really, guys, over 7.5 looks pretty decent in this game, but I also like the Tigers -102 with Skubal on the mound. The dude is an absolute monster. We don't see Cleveland swinging the hottest bats right now, and I don't have that much faith in Carrasco. So yeah, go ahead and give me the Tigers in this game. Also, over 7.5 is worth a look, but I think the better value in this one is the Tigers. Next on the docket, guys, we got the New York Mets going on the road to take on the Miami Marlins. The Mets come into this game 50-48 on the season, fresh off of a 4-2 loss there in Game 3 of this series. Yeah, guys, they need to win this one to split a series against the Miami Marlins. That's not where you want to be at. They're handing the ball in this game to David Peterson. He's 3-0 this season with a 3.09 ERA. He's coming off a great outing back on the 11th against the Nationals. He went 6 innings, gave up 4 hits and no runs. He walked 3 and struck out 5 in that one. He hasn't given up more than 2 earned runs over any of his last 5 starts. In his one outing this season against the Marlins, Marlins. It was back on the 12th of last month, so not that long ago. He didn't have a great time. 5 innings, 8 hits, 4 earned runs. In a game we eventually saw the Mets offense carry, winning 10-4. So yeah, that one wasn't Peterson's fault, but it seems like he's been throwing the ball a lot better lately, so we'll see if he has some better luck in this one. The Mets bullpen obviously has not been one of this team's strengths of the season, but they are trending in a positive direction with a 4.16 bullpen ERA, but still not exactly looking at that bullpen as a strength right now. And offensively, this team has scored 2, 1, 4, and 5 runs respectively over their last 4 games. They are 1 and 3 in those outings, so things not looking great for them at the plate. They are still top 10 in all the major hitting categories, so that's something positive. But man, is this an offense we can really trust despite the fact they're 7th in the majors in runs scored? I mean, it's kind of not feeling like that at this exact moment. I mean, yeah, just some weird stuff. They're not putting up a ton of runs. We've seen decent stuff from Pete Alonso this season, but I mean, he's coming off a game where he had a double. He went 1 for 4, like fine. He had a home run back on the 14th, like all right, but that's not really going to carry the load for this team. We've seen Lindor do pretty well in this series, all things considered, but man, this offense just not putting up a ton of runs, and the Mets are going to have to score some runs in this game going up against the Marlins here, who have now won 3 out of their last 4 overall. They're handing the ball to Yanni Chirinos in this game. He's 0-1 this season with a 5.76 ERA, coming off of a disaster of a start against the Reds. Honestly, his last 3 outings have all left a lot to be desired. He's had some good moments this season, don't get me wrong, but yeah, just not a starter I feel like we can trust. He's making his 6th outing overall, and it seems like teams are starting to figure him out. He's given up 7, 3, 3, 1, and 2 earned runs over his last 5 starts. He had a bad start against the White Sox, a bad start at the Reds. I mean, that's a little bit problematic if you ask me. And the Marlins bullpen, while it's been a little bit better than you would expect, is not necessarily a lockdown bullpen. A 3.88 bullpen ERA, sure, that's fine, but not a bullpen that I personally have a ton of faith in. And this offense, guys, has scored 4, 0, 6, and 3 runs respectively over their last 4 games. Even though those are in winning efforts, not a lot of offense. They're 29th in the majors in on-base percentage and 29th in the majors in runs scored. Just not a team that I have a lot of faith in at the plate. So looking at the numbers of this game, we see the Mets at -162. We see the Marlins at +144. We've got an over-under of 8.5 in this game. The Mets are 23 and 22 on the road. The Marlins are 20 and 32 at home. Guys, in terms of a side in this game, I'm definitely siding with the Mets -162. I think they've got a good shot to win this game, and salvage the 2-game split. But is this a spot that I think has a ton of value? I would say it definitely has some. I don't super trust Peterson going up against a team that, kind of had his number earlier in the season. So we'll see what he does in that one. We're more looking towards the over-under in this series once again, which, doesn't feel amazing considering how it's gone. But looking at that over 8.5 is definitely appealing considering the fact the Mets are the best over team on the road this season, and the Marlins are the best over team at home this season. So yeah, I think we could see some offense in this one. Give me a lean towards the Mets -162 and over 8.5, but I don't know if this is going anywhere near the pinned comment. Moving right along here, guys, we've got the St. Louis Cardinals going on the road to take on the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Cardinals come into this game fresh off of winning 2 out of 3 there against the Atlanta Braves. Pretty solid stuff going up against a team like the Braves for the Cardinals to come out on top. They're handing the ball in this game to young Andre Pallante. He comes into this game fresh off of a, kind of mediocre start against the Royals to go into the All-Star break. That was back on the 10th, so the guy hasn't pitched in 10 plus days now. So we'll see what he looks like out there. The last time he faced the Pirates was back on the 4th of July, and he looked great. He went 7 innings, gave up 4 hits, only a single earned run in a game we saw the Cardinals eventually win 3-2 in 10 innings. So he has looked very, very good. This young guy, he's had his ups and downs for sure, but recently he's looked really, really good, and he's got some solid history against the Pirates in the very, very, not distant future, the very close future. So looking at him as a plus level starter for this game, definitely the Cardinals bullpen has just been killing it lately. They're now 4th in the majors with a 3.44 bullpen ERA. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. Obviously, they got a very good closer to run out there, and if the offense can continue to hit the ball like this, guys, good things are on the horizon. The Cardinals have scored 6 and 9 runs respectively over their last 2 games. They're definitely, all these major offensive categories are headed in the right direction. They're up to 12th in the majors in batting average, 16th in the majors in on-base percentage, an on-base percentage of .310. That will definitely work. Their slugging percentage is inching up there towards 400. They're up to 20th in the majors in slugging percentage. Like, this is a team that can hit the ball now. So if they can continue to do that, things could definitely turn around for this team. They're taking on the Pirates, who just got shut out in their last game of of that series against the Phillies. They're 50-49 on the year, so they're still 7 games back of the Milwaukee Brewers there in the NL Central. They're handing the ball to Mitch Keller in this game, who's 10-5 this season with a 3.46 ERA. He's coming off a very weird start against the Chicago White Sox back on the 14th. He only lasted 3 innings in that outing, gave up 4 hits and 2 earned runs. So yeah, not great stuff against a team like the White Sox. Over the course of the season, obviously he's been very, very good. The last time he faced the Cardinals, though, he straight up did not have a good time, guys. He went 5 innings, gave up 9 hits and 5 earned runs, 6 runs overall, including 2 home runs in that game. That was at home in a game that the Pirates lost 7-4 to the Cardinals. So definitely something to take into account in this game. So a little bit worrisome there, and also worrisome is that Pirates bullpen, guys. A 4.33 bullpen ERA has them easily in the bottom 10 teams in the majors. So once Keller comes out of this game, even if he has a good time, can you trust the bullpen to hold on? Seems pretty problematic to me. This offense obviously coming off a game where they got shut out. They've scored 0, 4, 8, and 9 runs respectively over their last few games. So overall, they had a really good series against the Phillies. They'll definitely take it, but this is not a great offensive team. 26th in the majors in batting average, batting .233 as a team. 26th in the majors in on base percentage, getting on base at a .301 clip. They're 21st in the majors in runs scored. Obviously, Brian Reynolds is a monster, guys. No way around that. The dude is just... He's great. He's a fantastic hitter. He's been killing it lately. No notes for me about him. But what do we really expect to see from the rest of the offense? I don't think a whole lot, guys. And looking at the numbers for this game, we see the Cardinals on the road at plus 115. We see the Pirates at home at minus 130. We've got an over-under of 8.5 in this game. The Cardinals are 26-25 on the road, so slightly over 500. The Pirates are 24-25 at home, so slightly under 500. Those numbers are pretty much a wash for me. It just shows that neither one of these teams is necessarily elite in this exact position. I'm definitely leaning towards the Cardinals plus 115 in this spot. I think it's got a definite chance to enter the pin comment. I think the Pirates could have a lot of trouble there with Mitch Keller on the mound going up against a team that has destroyed him already this season. We do see both teams showing trends towards the under, but given the trends of Keller right now, and with both teams, showing the ability to hit the ball a little bit better, I'm not too interested in the under 8.5, but definitely give me the Cardinals plus 115. Next on the docket, guys, we got the Cincinnati Reds going on the road to take on the Atlanta Braves. The Reds come into this game losers of their last 4 in a row. They just got swept at Washington, so that cannot feel great. They're 47-53 on the year, now in the cellar there in the NL Central. They're handing the ball to Hunter Green in this game. He's 6-4 this season with a 3.34 ERA. He's coming off of a pretty problematic outing there in the All-Star game. Before that, he had looked good in his last regular season outing going up against the Colorado Rockies in a very, very solid appearance, and his last 3 starts have all been very, very good. So he'll definitely take that. He's going up against the Atlanta Braves in this game, a team against which he has no history this season. So we'll see how he does out there. He's a young guy. He's been a little bit inconsistent, but overall has had a very, very good season. There is a reason he was out there to get shelled in that All-Star game. He had earned his way there. The Reds bullpen has been very, very good this season, maybe trending a little bit down lately with a 3.52 bullpen ERA, but not a bullpen that we're too disappointed in. They've done some good things this year for sure. The offense is where the problems come for the squad, guys. They are not exactly killing it up there. They're 14th in the majors in runs scored, so that looks great on paper, but man, they're 27th in the majors in batting average, batting .230 as a team. They're 22nd in the majors in on base percentage, getting on base at a .306 clip. They're below league average in slugging percentage despite playing their games at Great American Ballpark. Yeah, just not a lot of great stuff. They just lost their one of the relievers to a partial shoulder tear, so that's also some bad news. And yeah, over the last few games, guys, they've scored 2, 4, 5, and 2 runs respectively. So just not killing it at the plate. So they're gonna have to find a way to put up some runs here, going up against the Atlanta Braves, who come into this game losers of 2 out of 3 against the Cardinals. We see this team; they're starting to get a little bit banged up. Definitely some question marks now. They're 54-44 on the year, only 10 games above 500 now. They do have they've got an 8.5 game deficit behind the Philadelphia Phillies there in the NL East. They're handing the ball to Reynaldo Lopez in this game, which is some good news for them for sure. He's 7-3 this season with a 1.88 ERA, coming off of a good third of an inning appearance there in the All-Star game. His last start heading into the All-Star break was a disaster at San Diego, though, guys. He gave up 11 hits, somehow only 3 earned runs in that game, but man, seems like it could have been a lot worse there going up against San Diego. Not exactly great stuff. He went into the All-Star break playing relatively well. He hasn't faced the Reds this season, and in general, he's obviously had a very, very good year. So not going to take a lot away from him. Obviously, nothing we can take away from that bullpen that's sitting with a 2.98 bullpen ERA that is good for 2nd in the majors. So only good things to say about that bullpen. Some bad things to say about the offense, guys, though. 2 runs in their last game against the Cardinals. They've scored 2, 5, 3, 6 and 0 runs respectively over their last few games. Leaning on Ozuna to really carry the load here for this team, and that has not worked out in the second half of the season. Early on, things were looking great. He was hitting some crazy number. I want to say like 360 or something like that, something nuts. But now he's retreated to like normal numbers, and they're down to 19th in the majors in runs scored, 17th in the majors in batting average. We saw Fried end up on the IL with a forearm issue. Like, the offense not humming along and the pitching staff taking some injuries seems a bit problematic. So looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Reds at plus 136, the Braves at minus 155. We've got an over-under of 8 in this game. The Reds are 22 and 25 on the road, not a great road team. Atlanta is 30 and 19 at home. That's obviously very, very strong home numbers there. So definitely something to look at in that one. And with, a guy like Reynaldo Lopez on the mound, it definitely doesn't seem like a terrible spot to take the Braves. I just struggle to see them scoring a ton of runs, so that seems a bit problematic, but they probably won't need a ton to get by a team like the Cincinnati Reds, so we may end up just going ahead and taking the Braves minus 155 in this spot. In terms of the over-under for this game, it's sitting at 8. We see Atlanta is 31-17-1 to the under at home, and I do think there's some definite value on under 8. I mean, Cincinnati is a 50-50 over-under team on the road, so nothing to glean from that, but with Hunter Green out there on the mound, I'm expecting good things from him, obviously expecting good things from Reynaldo Lopez, so I think my leans in this game are going to be the Braves minus 155 and under 8, with the under 8 probably being the better value. Next up, guys, we're looking at the Philadelphia Phillies going on the road to take on the Minnesota Twins. The Phillies come into this game fresh off of a 6-0 win there at Pittsburgh to salvage one win in that 3-game series. They're 63 and 36 on the year, handing the ball in this game to Ranger Suarez, who's 10 and 4 this season with a 2.76 ERA. He didn't go into the All-Star break on a great note, guys. He got knocked around by the Oakland A's, giving up 6 hits, 4 earned runs in 6 innings of work, so not great there. He had 3 walks and 6 strikeouts in that one. He just hasn't been looking like himself over his last 3 or 4 starts, so definitely some concerns there for me about Suarez. Just not looking like himself right now. That's a little bit tough for a guy that got off to such an unbelievable start to the season. In terms of their bullpen, the Phillies also are having some major problems, guys. They're down in pretty much the middle of the pack with a 3.86 bullpen ERA. Not looking too hot there. As soon as the reliever has to come in, all sorts of question marks start to pop up for the Phillies. So they're leaning more than ever on their elite offense, which came through for 6 runs in the last game of that series, but hasn't exactly been crushing it, guys. I mean, in that series against the Pirates, they scored 6-1 and 7 runs respectively. Their last game of the series against the A's, they lost 18-3. So yeah, just not an offense that's killing it right now. I mean, they do have all the pieces to be an amazing offense. They're 5th in the majors in runs scored and 3rd in the majors, batting .258 as a team. Like, all great news there. I'm expecting this team to put it together. They're one of the best teams in Major League Baseball. Don't get me wrong, just not maybe playing their best at this exact moment. So looking at their opponent in this game, they're going up against the Minnesota Twins, who come into this game fresh off of losing back-to-back games there against the Milwaukee Brewers. They're 54 and 44 on the season. They're handing the ball in this game to Bailey Ober, who's 8 and 5 this year with a 4.14 ERA. He's coming off a decent start against the Chicago White Sox. I mean, it was at the White Sox to give up 4 hits and 3 earned runs in a game we eventually saw the Twins lose 3-1. That's a little bit embarrassing. You don't want to be losing games to the Chicago White Sox, guys. That's not a great look. He has not gone up against the Phillies this season. Hasn't really faced a ton of elite opponents. I mean, he's got a decent start against the Yankees under his belt, but I mean, multiple starts against the A's, starts against the Seattle Mariners. Like, not too much information being gleaned from that. He's about to go up against a very tough opponent. So we'll see what he can do out there. We'll also see if this bullpen can continue its surge. It's looked so good. It's up to around 8th or something like that in the majors with a 3.66 bullpen ERA. That's a very welcome development for Twins fans who were probably not very happy about how their bullpen looked in the early going. So we're going to see how this offense can, get back on track. They've not been, it hasn't been a disaster, but they scored 7, 4, 2, and 4 runs respectively over their last few games. They're sitting in 7th in the majors in runs scored this season, which is very, very respectable. They're top 10 in all the major offensive categories. They're hitting 253 as a team. They're getting on base at a 322 clip. Like, this is a very, very good offense, but right now they're a little bit banged up. So yeah, some questions. I mean, when is Carlos Correa going to come back? We don't really know. He's dealing with a heel issue, so it's going to be a minute before we see him back out there. And Santana is still active, so that's good. But yeah, just some question marks about the health, generally speaking, of this squad right now. We'll see how they look here in this series. I mean, Paddock being out isn't great either. So yeah, we'll just see this team's looking a little bit banged up right now. Looking at the numbers for this game, we see the Phillies minus 136 136, the Twins at plus 116. We've got an over-under of 8 in this game. The Phillies are a good road team at 25-20. The Twins are a good home team at 27-20. Both teams, we got some differing and very, very, very small trends towards the over-under, so we're not really interested in that over-under of 8. Generally speaking, guys, I'm going to lean slightly towards the Phillies minus 136 because I still have some faith in Suarez, and maybe he's gotten things back on track over the All-Star break. But overall, this is a stay-away spot for me. We've got to wait and see what the Phillies are going to look like with Suarez on the mound, and we've got to see what the Twins are going to look like with their offense a little bit limited. Next up, guys, we're looking at the Chicago White Sox going on the road to take on the Texas Rangers. The White Sox come into this game fresh off of another loss. They just lost 4-1 to lose that entire series as a sweep there at the Kansas City Royals. So not exactly what they were looking for. A 7-game losing streak is a bit tough. They're handing the ball in this one to Eric Feedy, who's 7-3 this season with a 2.99 ERA. He went into the All-Star break fresh off of a dominant performance against the Twins, where he went 5 innings, gave up 4 hits, and no runs. He's looked very, very good over his last 5 starts. Basically, no notes for me there. And yeah, just in general, the dude's been looking nuts. He hasn't faced the Rangers yet this season, so, nothing to glean from that. But in general, Feedy's looked good. The White Sox bullpen, on the other hand, has not really killed it this season, guys. A 4.73 bullpen ERA, pretty disastrous. Bottom 3 in the majors, and this offense, not much different, guys. They've scored 1, 1, 1, and 4 runs, respectively, over their last 4 games. They're dead last in the majors in runs scored, dead last in on-base percentage, and dead last in slugging percentage. So not going to waste a ton of time talking about this offense, guys. They are just straight up not good and swinging some pretty cold bats. They're taking on the Texas Rangers, who come into this game fresh off of a 3-2 win there in the last game of their 3-game series against the Orioles. They're 47-52 on the year, handing the ball in this one to Michael Lorenzen, who's 5-5 on the season with a 3.52 ERA. So there's some pretty welcome news. This guy's been very good this season. He didn't go into the All-Star break on a positive note. 5 innings, 5 hits, 5 earned runs at the Angels is not great, but generally speaking, he's been good this season. So, that's something positive for this Rangers team that's not having a great time. Their bullpen has also been part of the struggles, guys. A 4.39 bullpen ERA has them way down in the bottom 5 or 6 or something like that in the majors. And the offense, while they're coming off a win, they only scored 3 runs in that win. And in their series against Baltimore, they scored 3, 4, and 1 runs respectively. So not swinging the bats like they've shown at times this season, but it's been a little bit since we've seen those times, guys. They're 17th in the majors in runs scored, 23rd in the majors in slugging percentage. This just isn't a team that you're very scared of at the plate right now. So yeah, a little bit of problem there. And looking at the numbers for this game, we see the White Sox at plus 136. We see the Rangers at minus 162. We've got an over-under of 8 in this game. The White Sox are 10-40 on the road this season. The Rangers are 25-23 at home, so they're a bit better at home. Definitely something to take into account. We also notice something else very interesting in this game. The White Sox are actually a slight over team on the road, but they've got Feedy on the mound in this one, and the Rangers are a massive 31-15-2 to the under at home. That is an MLB best mark to the under when playing at home. And they're putting Lorenzen out there on the mound. The dude is very, very solid, so that's something to take into consideration. Honestly, guys, you could definitely take the Rangers minus 162 if you want to. The White Sox lose, it feels like basically every road game that they play. However, I think the value in this one is actually on that under 8. I don't think we're going to see very much offense in this game. I'm expecting a good outing from Lorenzen going up against the ice-cold bats of the Chicago White Sox, and I'm always expecting good things from Feedy, who's been very, very good this season. So yeah, go ahead and give me under 8. I also think this is a no-run first inning spot, or, under in the first 5. So yeah, go ahead and give me under 8 as my play in this one. Definite chance to end up in the pinned comment. Moving right along here, guys, we're going to look at an NL Central showdown between the Milwaukee Brewers and the Chicago Cubs. The Brewers come into this game fresh off of sweeping the Twins in that 2-game series there at Minnesota, winning 8-7 and 8-4 respectively. The bats were really out to play there for the Brewers, who are in the top spot there in the NL Central with a 5-game cushion over the Cardinals. Milwaukee's hitting the ball to Tobias Myers in this game. He is 6-3 this season with a 3.13 ERA, coming off of an 8-inning appearance there in his game against the Pirates. 8 innings, 4 hits, 0 runs in that game, and a 9-0 shutout win there for the Brewers. So he looked very, very dominant in that game. He's had, some hiccups lately, but that one definitely should have him on track here. And heading into the All-Star game after an appearance like that has to feel great. His last time against the Cubs wasn't exactly all, like roses and unicorns, guys. Back on the 29th of last month, he went 6 innings, gave up 7 hits, and 3 earned runs. In a game, we saw the Cubs eventually win 5-3. So the Brewers took the loss in that game. That can't feel great. The Milwaukee bullpen has been, very, very, very good. bit, I think, is accurate, guys. A 3.35 ERA has them in third in the majors. So a dominant bullpen. Whenever Myers comes out of the game, you can definitely trust that bullpen to put up some good numbers and some good effort out there. So they'll definitely be hoping for more of that in this series against the Cubs. We also see the Brewers offense is on track, guys. They've scored 8, 8, and 9 runs respectively over their last 3 games. Christian Yelich leading the way with a 320 batting average. That's very impressive. This team is 6th in the majors in runs scored, 5th in the majors in batting average, and 2nd in the majors getting on base at a 332 clip. This is an absolutely elite offense, guys. Their offense is the reason this team is on top of the NL Central. So they're hoping they can make a statement here and take care of business going up against the Cubs, who come into this game fresh off a walk-off win in the 10th inning. Thank you, Cubs, for that one. They only won 1 game in that 3-game series against the Diamondbacks, and it wasn't exactly a dominant win either. So they're hoping they can get good things here from Javier Assad, who's 4-3 this season with a 3.27 ERA. He's coming off of a problematic start at the Cardinals, to say the least, guys. He only lasted 2 1/3 innings, gave up 7 hits and 3 earned runs, including 2 home runs. He's given up 2 home runs in each of his last 2 starts, which is a big concern considering he's about to go up against the Milwaukee Brewers, who are a team that can absolutely hit the ball. So yeah, we're going to be a little bit of trepidation here. I mean, the last time Assad took on the Brewers, he did very well, but that was back on May 5th during a pretty dominant stretch for him. So we'll see if he's got any more of that in the tank. I don't think it's a given that he's going to have a good start in this game, and I also don't necessarily think it's a given that we're going to see great things from that Cubs bullpen. A 3.88 bullpen ERA is not terrible, but I wouldn't necessarily put it in the elite category. And while they did look good against the Diamondbacks, now they have to continue to look that good against a hard-hitting team like the Brewers. I have my questions about this. And looking at the Cubs offense, can't really expect them to carry the load either, guys. They've scored 2, 0, and 2 runs respectively in that series against the Diamondbacks. Bellinger is leading the way for this team, but I mean, how much can he really do out there to try to carry an entire offense, especially when he's on the 10-day IL now after getting hit in the hand by a pitch? So we'll see when we get him back out there. But yeah, right now, just not a lot of great things to say about this offense, especially with Bellinger out of these games. So looking at the numbers for this one, guys, we see the Brewers at -116, the Cubs at -102. We got an over-under of 8.5 in this one. Yeah, guys, not too interested in that 8.5 number, but I am very interested in the Milwaukee Brewers -116. Not seeing great stuff from Assad. Sure, he could have hit the reset button over the All-Star break, but I'm not worried about Tobias Myers either. He's been throwing the ball really well. I do think the Brewers have a significant hitting advantage. No major secret there. This offense is much better than the Cubs offense, and I do think Milwaukee also has the better bullpen. So -116, way too cheap of a price in this spot. I think it should be more like a -140 or -150, which leaves tons of room for value here on the Brewers, who are 28-25 on the road. That is a very reasonable home number. So yeah, give me the Brewers -116 in this one. I think it is very likely to go in the pinned comment. Next on the docket, guys, we got the Arizona Diamondbacks going on the road to take on the Kansas City Royals. The Diamondbacks come into this game fresh off of winning 2 out of 3 there at Chicago. They did lose the last game of that series in walk-off fashion, so that's not probably feeling too great. But at 51-49 in the year, they're probably not too disappointed. They're handing the ball in this one to Yolbert Diaz, who's 1-0 this season with a 1.50 ERA. This 23-year-old has come out of the gates looking fantastic over his first 2 outings. Back on the 8th of July, he dominated the Atlanta Braves. 6 innings, 4 hits, only a single earned run in a game his team lost 5-4 in extras, but he followed that up with a great outing on the 13th of July against the Toronto Blue Jays. 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run in that one as well. He did not give up a home run in that game, walked 2 and struck out 2 in a game we saw the Diamondbacks win 12-1. So very dominant stuff for him here out of the gate. We'll see how he looks in his first start after the All-Star break, but yeah, things looking pretty good for him. In terms of their bullpen, the Diamondbacks have been pretty bad this season overall, but are trending in a positive direction with a 4.24 bullpen ERA. So not a disaster, but not exactly a bullpen that you can look to just lock down games when they get handed a win. A lot falls in the Diamondbacks offense, guys. They didn't really show up in a big way against the Cubs in that 3-game series at Wrigley, though. I mean, 1, 3, and 5 runs respectively. That's not what we're used to seeing from an offense that is 3rd in the majors in runs scored, 6th in the majors batting .254 as a team, and 5th in the majors in on-base percentage. So yeah, a .409 slugging percentage also has them top 10 in the majors. Like, this is a squad that expects to put up a lot of runs on a nightly basis, and yeah, I mean, you can pretty much pencil them in for that. Generally speaking, just wasn't exactly the case there at Wrigley Field. So kind of expect them to get back on track here going up against the Royals, who come into this game fresh off a 3-game sweep, pretty much a 3-game cakewalk there against Chicago White Sox. The Royals are handing the ball in this game to Cole Rangans. He's 6-6 this season with a 3.16 ERA. He looked decent there in the All-Star game for sure. He went into the All-Star game looking dominant with a 7-inning, 4-hit, 1-run performance with 7 strikeouts there at Fenway against the Red Sox. So yeah, he just looked very, very good in that game. It doesn't appear that he has faced the Diamondbacks yet this season, so nothing to be gleaned from that. But Rangans, he's been throwing the ball pretty well. Also, I mean, what can we expect from this Royals bullpen? I would say they're trending in a positive direction now after that series against the White Sox, but it was the White Sox, so you got to take all those numbers with a grain of salt. They haven't been an amazing bullpen lately, guys. A 4.22 bullpen ERA doesn't exactly fill me with a ton of optimism, so definitely some question marks there. We're going to need to see some good things from the Royals bats. They've scored 4, 6, and 7 runs respectively in that series against the White Sox, so they'll definitely take that. We see Bobby Witt Jr. continuing to just kill the ball. I mean, yeah, just a lot of positives right now for the Royals. Maybe the offensive numbers are getting a little bit of a boost now. They were trending in a not so great direction, but 11th in the majors in runs scored and 11th in the majors in batting average. Those kind of numbers will definitely get the job done in a lot of different situations. But looking at the numbers of this game, we see the Diamondbacks at plus 132, the Royals at minus 156. We got an over/under of 8.5 in this game. The Diamondbacks are a 500 road team. That's not terrible, but the Royals are 34-18 at home. That's very impressive. They've been one of the better home teams in the major league. So yeah, in general, looking at the over/under numbers of this game, we see Arizona is a slight under team on the road, and the Royals are 29-23 to the under at home. So that's definitely something to take into account. In general, in this game, I tend to lean towards the Diamondbacks plus 132 a little bit. I think we could maybe see the Royals bats struggle a bit. I also think under 8.5 is very live in this game, since I don't expect either offense to really have a great time. I mean, Rangans has been throwing the ball well. Obviously, Diaz has been throwing the ball great himself. He's a young guy, so we could expect, some hiccups along the road, but I think under 8.5 is also very live in this game. Are either one of these going in the pinned comment? Absolutely not. I don't have enough real trust in either side in this one to go with them in the pinned comment. Rounding into the home stretch here, guys, we've got the Boston Red Sox going on the road to take in the Colorado Rockies. We saw the Red Sox straight up not have a good time there on Sunday Night Baseball, guys. They took the 9-6 loss against the Dodgers to lose that series, get swept in that series, something we didn't necessarily see coming. They're hitting the ball in this one to Tanner Houck, who's 8-6 this season with a 2.54 ERA. He didn't look great there by any stretch of the imagination in the All-Star game, guys. He pretty much got shelled, so we'll see if he can bounce back from that. Gotta be a little bit of a blow to the ego to get knocked around that hard. I mean, 1 inning, 4 hits, 3 earned runs, cannot feel great. I mean, before that, he did look good against the A's, headed into the All-Star break, so we'll give him some credit for that. And he's about to go up against a relatively weak hitting opponent in the Colorado Rockies, somebody he has not faced yet this season. So we'll see what we get from Houck in this game. Not like the dude has been terrible. The Red Sox bullpen, generally speaking, this year has been pretty serviceable, but I wouldn't necessarily put them in the elite category. A 3.75 bullpen ERA. Not one that I'm crazy excited about, but they can hold on to a good amount of leads. We can definitely say that. The offense straight up not having their best time against the Dodgers. I mean, they tacked on most of the 6 runs they scored in that last inning there. So yeah, I mean, just not. The Red Sox gave up 6 home runs in that game on Sunday Night Baseball. That's pretty embarrassing with everybody watching. I mean, and in that series, they've scored 6, 6, and 1 run respectively. So you would expect to win at least one of those games, just not the way the cookie crumbled. So looking at the Red Sox offense, like I said, have hit the ball relatively well. 4th in the majors in batting average, 13th in the majors in runs scored. They're getting on base at a 323 clip. Like, I think this offense, the 3rd best slugging percentage offense in the majors, guys, is poised for some sort of breakout here. And they're going up against the Colorado Rockies, who just won 2 out of 3 against the Giants. They are 36-64 on the year, though, so that's not ideal. They're hitting the ball to Austin Gomber, who's 2-6 this season with a 4.61 ERA. His last time out was on the 11th against, at Cincinnati, actually. 5 innings, 7 hits, 4 earned runs. Not his best stuff. He has had some good outings recently. I mean, he had a good outing at home against the Royals, but not exactly somebody I feel like we can necessarily count on. No major shocker he hasn't taken on the Red Sox this season, but yeah, I mean, just not a guy that I'm super high on. Also, I'm incredibly not high on that Red Sox or Colorado Rockies bullpen, guys. A 5.70 bullpen ERA almost feels like a stat that can't be correct. Like, I want to go back and check, but man, that's what it says, and I mean, I gotta trust it because this bullpen is absolutely horrendous. So they're gonna need the offense to come up big. They haven't really been doing that necessarily. I mean, it hasn't been terrible. These were 2, 4, 7, and 8 runs respectively over their last 4 games. Some positives. I mean, this is a decent batting average team, a decent slugging percentage advantage team, which you would freaking hope so, getting to play after games at Coors Field, but overall, just not an offense that I can get very excited about. So looking at the numbers for this game, we see the Red Sox at -178, the Rockies at +158. We see over-under showing of 10 and at 10.5 out there. Boston is 29-19 on the road. The Rockies are 22-26 at home. Yeah, if you wanted to take Boston -178, that definitely makes some sense to me. Not wanting to get too greedy there. Definitely could end up in the same boat as you, but I also think there's some value in looking at the price there. If you want to take the Red Sox -1.5, you can get them at around -115 or -120. Yeah, guys, that's probably not a nice enough price to get me to just not take them straight up to win this game. Although I do think we're going to see Boston win this one pretty comfortably. So yeah, either way you want to slice it, I'm going with the Red Sox to win this game. I think this goes in the pinned comment, either that -1.5 variety or the -178 if we decide we don't want to get too greedy. Moving right along here, guys, we've got the Los Angeles Angels going on the road to take on the Seattle Mariners. The Angels come into this game fresh off of an 8-5 win in their last game of the series at Oakland. They've now got to continue their road trip as they head to Seattle. They're 42-57 on the year, so not exactly having a fantastic time. They're handing the ball to Tyler Anderson, who's 8-8 this season with a 2.97 ERA. He's coming off a 6-inning appearance against the Seattle Mariners where he didn't have the best time, guys. Seattle, not a great hitting team. He gave up 6 hits and 4 earned runs, including 2 home runs in that outing. It was a game we eventually saw the Angels win in extra innings, but man, it was not Tyler Anderson's fault. He did not have a very good time against them, and that is some very, very recent history. That was only a few, like 10 days ago or something like that. So yeah, not a great look there. Also, the Angels bullpen, pretty terrible, guys. A 4.61 bullpen ERA, one of the 3 or 4 worst bullpens in baseball right now. And the offense, not exactly killing it. I mean, they are coming off a game where they scored 8 runs, but they scored 8, 2, and 3 runs respectively in that series. In their series against Seattle, the last time they faced the Mariners, they played a 4-game series. They won 3 of them, but they scored 3, 2, 6, and 0 runs respectively in that series. So not too amazing there. I'm sure they're hoping their bats can come alive here against the Mariners, who come into this game fresh off of a desperately needed win there in the last game of their 3-game series against the Astros to snap a 5-game losing streak. They're 53-48 on the year, currently tied atop the AL West. They're handing the ball to Bryce Miller in this game, who's 7-7 this season with a 3.63 ERA. He's coming off of a dominant pre-All-Star game start there against the San Diego Padres, so that's definitely a major positive. The last time he faced the Angels, he was absolutely dominant back on June 1st, so they'll take that, hoping that he can replicate something like that here in this game, and I think the odds makers are on the side of that happening as well. The Seattle bullpen has been very, very steady this season, a very, very solid bullpen, nothing to complain about there. The only problems for this team really are their bats. If they could get some more offense in this lineup, man, things could really be humming along, but that just has not been the case. They've scored 6, 2, 0, 2, and 1 run respectively over their last few games. They're 28th in the majors in runs scored, dead last in the majors in batting average, 28th in the majors in on-base percentage as well. Like, this is just not a good hitting team, although they do have some good history against the opponent that they're facing, or at least against the pitcher that they're facing in the terms of the starter. So they'll definitely take that. Looking at the numbers for this game, we see the Angels at +136, the Mariners at -162. That seems a bit expensive. We got an over-under of 7.5 in this game. The Angels are 20-28 on the road, not a good road team. Seattle is 31-20 at home, a pretty good home team. We see some mixed over-under trends. I mean, obviously Seattle's a big under team at home. If you wanted to take under 7.5, I guess you could. Not too interested in that, guys. More interested in the Mariners -162. I think we're going to see a very good start from Bryce Miller. I think we're going to see Tyler Anderson get into at least a little bit of trouble, and you give up 4 or 5 runs against the Seattle Mariners, that is pretty much the end of the game. So yeah, go ahead and give me Seattle -162 in this one. Does it have a chance to end up in the pinned comment? I would say it's definitely got a shot. Next up, guys, we're looking at the Houston Astros going on the road to take on the Oakland A's. The Astros come into this game fresh off of a loss to end their 3-game series there at Seattle. Now they get to go on the road to Oakland. They're handing the ball to Spencer Arrighetti, who's 4-7 this season with a 5.63 ERA. He's coming off of a dazzling start against the Rangers back on the 13th. He went 6 innings, gave 2 hits, only a single earned run. In a game, we saw the Astros eventually lose 2-1 in extra innings. So that has to be a pretty disappointing feeling. You put your team in that good of a position to win, and it doesn't happen. This guy has faced the Oakland A's twice this season with some pretty questionable results. I mean, 5 innings, 3 earned runs on 5 hits, and 5 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned runs. So, not a disaster. We saw the Astros go 1-1 over those starts, so not a crazy amount we can glean from those starts back in May, but, this guy has been throwing the ball a lot better lately, so maybe not a ton to be taken from those, those previous starts against this opponent. In general, the Astros bullpen is very much climbing the standings, guys. A 3.68 bullpen ERA has them definitely in the top 10 in the majors, so take that into consideration for sure. This bullpen has been looking good. The offense, maybe not so hot. I mean, they scored 4, 4, and 3 runs respectively at Seattle. A very tough place to hit, a very tough team to hit against, so, they'll see if they can, keep things, right the ship a little bit. I mean, they are first in the majors in batting average and ninth in the majors runs scored. So by no stretch of the imagination is this a bad offense. They're going up against an A's team that just won 2 out of 3 against the Angels, but at 39 and 62 on the year, don't have a ton to play for. They're hitting the ball to Hogan Harris, who's 1-3 this season with a 3.40 ERA. He's looked very good over his last 5 outings, including starts against the Phillies, the Baltimore Orioles, the Diamondbacks, the Twins, and the Royals. All pretty solid hitting teams, guys, and he hasn't given up more than 3 runs to any of them. So honestly, excellent stuff out there for Hogan Harris, and getting to go up against a team like the Astros, just add another tough opponent there to his list. The dude has been facing, pretty much a murderer's row kind of all season. I mean, back on May 16th, he went 3 1/3 innings and gave up absolutely nothing to the Astros. So, give him some credit for that one. We'll see what we actually get from him in this one. I'm expecting good things from him. I'm also expecting good things from this A's bullpen that's much better than you would expect, and the offense has been heading in something of a positive direction, but 23rd in the majors in runs scored and 28th in the majors in batting average. Not exactly an offense that I'm terrified of. So looking at the numbers for this game, we see the Astros at -152, the A's at +128. Houston is 22 and 26 on the road. Oakland is 24 and 26 at home. Honestly, guys, with the mixed trends towards the over-under, I do think this is a spot we could actually look at the Oakland A's +128 with Hogan Harris on the mound. Is this a spot that I love? No. Is this going in the pinned comment? No, but my lean in this one is the A's and that plus number. Last but not least here, guys, we're looking at a big rivalry game between the San Francisco Giants and the LA Dodgers. The Giants come into this game fresh off of a much-needed 3-2 win there at the Colorado Rockies, but at 48 and 52 on the year, they're not exactly where they want to be. They're handing the ball to Blake Snell in this game, who's had a debacle of an injury-riddled season, but his last 2 starts are making us think he is right back where he needs to be, guys. He's given up a total of 2 hits over those 2 starts, hasn't given up a run over either one of them. It was a great start against the Toronto Blue Jays and a very, very good start back on the 14th against the Twins. So he had the All-Star break to sit there and think about how well he's been throwing the ball lately. He'll definitely take that. Hoping that he's back on track. Baseball's better when this guy is throwing the ball well. The Giants bullpen, on the other hand, guys, not good. One of the 5 worst bullpens in Major League Baseball, so they're hoping Snell can go deep into this game. They're also hoping that their offense can kind of come to life after a pretty lackluster showing there at Coors Field. Not a place you want to suck hitting the ball. Kind of should be a pretty easy place to get some hits, but that wasn't really the case for him in that one. They're going to have to score some runs here against the Dodgers, who just swept the Red Sox in a 3-game series there. They're coming into this one fresh off of playing on Sunday Night Baseball. They're 59 and 41 on the season. Obviously, this team isn't at full strength until they get Mookie Betts back, but things have looked good for them. We don't have a confirmed starter for them, but they've had, a pretty decent starting pitching staff, I suppose. Although if this ends up being a full bullpen start, we like that a lot better because this bullpen has been elite this season. Top 5 in the majors, a 3.44 bullpen ERA. Nothing wrong with that. They're also hitting the ball well, guys. They've scored 9, 7, and 4 runs respectively over their last 3 games. Ohtani killing it. Obviously, he looks even better coming off a small break there. So, yeah, good things for the Dodgers pretty much across the board. Looking at the numbers for this game, we see the Giants at +122. The Dodgers at -144. We've got an over-under of 8.5 in this game. The Giants, not a very good road team, 20 and 29 on the road. The Dodgers, 30 and 18 at home. So, a very good home team, no doubt about that. Can't give you a huge lean on this game since we don't know who's starting this one for the Dodgers. I do tend to lean a little bit towards the Giants with Snell out there on the mound given how good he's been looking lately. So we'll have to check the pin comment, check back at the pin comment and see if anything ends up in there for this one. My lean is the Giants, but we can't be too sure about anything until we see a starter listed for the Dodgers. That's all the games we have for today, guys. Hit that like button for good luck on all of your bets and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Let me know in the comments any questions you have on today's slate. Thanks for watching. You can click the link in the description to check out stumpthespread.com, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for more sports betting action.